So hopefully you've already watched the video about setting up session activities. And we've explained this a little bit there, but I want to go ahead and go in and talk about if you use the session required document or session questionnaire activity, how that setup is going to go. So you're going to want to go in and find that session that you have those activities for, and go ahead and click on the session setup. All right, so if you have that session required document activity, remember that's like just a repository where you could list any documents that your students need to upload as an assignment for you during that session. So keep in mind you will need to have added it on the session activities section to your to-do list. So that's just going to put session required documents or whatever you've called it, assignments, documents to upload, something like that. That's just going to put it on their to-do list. To actually set up which items they need to upload, you're going to need to go ahead and go into session required document. The first thing you'll need to do is go ahead and create a group or a category for each type of document they might need to upload. So you might just have one of these, you might just call it assignments if they all belong to the same category, and that's totally fine. That's really typical for schools to do, so don't worry too much about the groups. If you think you only need one, then that's fine. However, some schools will like to divide it up, week by week. They might have different weekly documents, or they might divide it up by type. So, you might have a group for soap notes, and then maybe an additional group, for reflections or something, or, papers, or whatever type of document you might have there. Other schools might choose, like I said, to do like week 1 documents, week 2 documents, week 3 documents, whatever works for your individual program. After you've set up those groups, you'll just want to come click here and add a document. And then just name that document, so whatever type of document they might need to upload. Any notes that you might have, and then choose the group that they need to upload that document in. You can choose a date and time for that individual document, and even different sequences. If you have different sequences set up, which one this document needs to be visible on, if only one of them, or if it's all of them, that's going to be the default there. And then that's been added. Keep in mind, if you do it like week 1, week 2, and you have the same documents from week to week, you could just copy, like highlight, and then do Control-C or Command-C on a Mac. That document there, and then click Add New and paste it over, and keep creating that document for each week. You'll just keep following that process until you have all of those documents added. And keep in mind, you will need to add a space for students to upload each individual document. So if you do have multiple ones, like maybe we need them to do 3 different soap notes, we could add, each of those here for my students to be able to upload. And that's the basics of creating a required document. So it should be pretty straightforward. I'm going to use my breadcrumbs to go back to the session setup page, and I'm also going to show you in this video how you can do a session questionnaire as well, because it is very similar. So again, you will need to make sure you've added that questionnaire to your session activities. That way it shows up on the to-do list. But then you'll need to come here on the right to session questionnaire and set up those actual questions that you want your students to answer. So the questionnaire is just like short answer questions. It's a space for your students to type in text directly. So if you have like a weekly reflection that students do, and it's always the same set of questions, this makes it really easy for you to have your students just type those answers in rather than uploading Word files or what have you. So whatever way you might prefer to do that, if you like the Word files, they can do that as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same questions from week to week. It just is easy to copy them over if you need to just copy and paste. But just like you set up those required documents here, you'll just add a group. So you can create the group, week 1 questions. And then just keep adding all of those groups that you need to add. and just keep adding all of those groups. Once you're done adding your groups, you'll just want to add each question. Like I said, if you're going to be adding the same question from week to week, I would recommend just copying the question and then you can paste it when you add a new one. Make sure you choose My Placements. You can create a wish list questionnaire this way too, so if you were to need that, maybe talk to your CSR a little bit, but it's set up very similarly. You can create a wish list questionnaire too. Then choose the group you want to display that on, a due date if you have it, and which sequences you need again. And you're just going to save. And then again, if the questions are the same, you'll just paste that question in. Then you can again choose My Placements, select the next group, and then save that one. And then just keep going with adding your questions.